Okay, so here's where the pizza oven is going, right between the tiles on the woodshed and the garden. According to the dimensions, I've probably got about 4 inches less between there than I really need, but I think those tiles around the garden, I can just cut them back 4 inches to make it fit. So anyways, this is where it's going to be. Garden's looking fabulous this year. Apparently a little bit too much foliage. The tomatoes have done way better than I would have ever expected, but that's another story.
Here's another look at using the trommel I built last year to screen all the dirt and soil from where the Mayday tree was before the retaining wall was built, and from relocating the garden to where it is now. As you can see, it's just a rotating cylindrical screen. Just set it up with a bit of a slope, shovel dirt in the front end, and voila! The small stuff falls out the bottom and the large chunks, rocks, and other undesirables come out the back end. It's worked great for screening the soil from my garden and eliminating the rocks and roots from all the dirt where the Mayday tree was. The trommel was a fun project in itself, and I have a separate set of videos on building and using it. I'll try to put a link to those in the show notes at the bottom. Check it out, it's quite interesting.
So, this is my little setup for getting gravel out. So here we are, I think, all ready to pour the footing. What a pain in the ass is trying to set this up, because there's nothing level and really nothing that I can attach to. So I've just, on this side, you can see I've basically got a screed board which is clamped to the pavers. And I'll just have built an offset screed and just use that. On this side, the screed board is level, but I didn't want it attached to the pavers either, so it's just loosely attached to these 2x4s, which are just held in place. Again, really, it just forms a screed edge. Got the rebar in, rebar's all tied. This front form here, the 2x6, I'll take it out for the majority of the pour. Well, actually, just set the mixer up right smack in the middle of the footing, and just shovel from my pile here right into the mixer, and then just dump it right into the form. Hopefully, it should work pretty good. Well, that's it. Concrete tomorrow as far as I can figure out, unless it looks like we're going to get heavy rain.
This is a look at our foundation pour. As you can see, we just placed the mixer inside the foundation, added the materials, mixed for 2 or 3 minutes, then turned it around and dumped it on the ground. It's hard to get more efficient than that. We gradually moved the mixer closer to the outside edge and then outside the form. We put the form back and then finished the pour. Minimal handling and moving of material. It works great if you can do it. Here's a much better look at my son Calvin screeding the concrete. If you look at the left-hand side of the screed, there's a cutaway offset on the screed board that's about 1.5 inches in depth by about 8 inches long. The other side just sits on the edge of the form. These were very tight, awkward conditions, but we got it as close as we could. Although it certainly wasn't perfect, it was close enough to put the block on for the next step. And it's certainly flat and level enough for a firewood storage area underneath the pizza oven platform. Here you can see we've got the mixer moved out of the way, and Calvin's just finishing up screeding. We've got some cleanup to do, finish the surface, lay out and insert the dowels, hopefully to pick up the cores in the blocks which will support the main oven platform. The finished foundation with the dowels in to pick up the block cores. I probably waited too long to insert these because I almost had to hammer them in, and there was almost no fluidity to the concrete. Note, to do that much earlier next time. All in all, it turned out quite well. The dowels matched the block holes, it's reasonably flat and level, and as my dad used to say, a blind man on a galloping horse is never going to know the difference. So now we're ready for block and the upper platform.
So here's my base walls all filled and poured. It didn't go too bad. I wouldn't say it was a perfect job by any means. You can tell I have some gaps here. One thing I learned also is that blocks are not the 100% uniform things you think they are. I've left all these tops down an inch and a half or so. When the slab is poured, they'll lock in there and that'll lock everything together perfectly. All in all, I think it's not too bad. The line is pretty good, although the elevation, as you can see, varies somewhat. But it's all going to be buried in concrete in any case when I pour the slab, so I think it's going to be okay. Now the only thing, if I could find a way to get these tomatoes under control. As you can see, where I had the board with my gravel on, the grass has all gone yellow. Hopefully it's not dead and that a couple of days in the sun will fix it. I guess we'll see soon enough. Okay, well here we are getting ready for the second pour, the second slab. I think I'm just about ready. I see I need to put a little bit of a support under the front end here. It would probably span, but I'll put some support underneath there. The inside is all supported. I don't know if you can see that or not. But anyways, it's all braced and supported. Feels solid. It holds me up anyways. And down the side, might as well have a look at that while we're here. So I'll just pour right on top of the blocks. I'm glad I filled those, but I left them down low enough so that the next slab will lock into it. Put chamfer just about everywhere. I have curved the front about 3 inches radius. Tried to curve the corners here too. You can see that. That was a little bit difficult. It was hard trying to find something that was round, about the right radius. All the containers that I had ribs on them, so I finally had to use a yogurt container, but I don't know if you can see it here, but the staples kind of blew through. I should stay there. I've taped over some of the wider gaps that I had. Don't want stuff falling down there. It should be fine. Chamfer in the corners, along the edge. Got a drip edge here that runs all the way on the inside. Runs on the inside about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. Okay. I think we're ready for rebar. So in order to continue the chamfer around the rounded bottom corners, I decided to just stuff them with a little bit of ethafoam rod. Just cut the edge off of it, as you can see here. Stuff that in there, it gets about the right profile. And then seal it off with a little piece of duct tape, and hopefully that's going to work. So I've still got about 8 gallons of this raw linseed oil left over from building my log house in Canmore 30 years ago, and I'm always looking for some way to start using it up. So I don't have any form oil, so this looks like a good opportunity. Slap some of this stuff on, and hopefully the form should release a little easier. It's not a fancy job. Hopefully it won't affect the quality of the concrete either. That seems to be going on great. Certainly smells like linseed oil. It's like cedar. You can recognize it anywhere. Yeah, that should work great. Well, I guess you know what this is all about. I actually got this piece of rebar for free. It's a 15M, but it was bent and it was in the waste bin at Rona, and they gave it to me. It's perfect for my cantilevered section. Tying rebar. I used to watch the guys at Canada tie it. They were so incredibly fast. I feel like a tortoise doing this. I'm slow, but at least you got to get it done. On to the next one. So I've decided to add some bolting capacity on the sides of the slab. The idea is that I might want to put a cover on this thing eventually, and I don't really know what that's going to look like yet, but I would put the anchor capacity in anyways. So I've decided to use 3/8 lag bolts. I figure if they'll hold in wood, they should certainly hold in concrete. So I'll set these into the concrete. They've been all thoroughly oiled, and then after the pour I'll just unscrew them, and I'll have basically a hole into which I can put the lag bolt to bolt a stud or something like that on later on. Some of them are 6 inches, some of them are 4. There's a variety. The ones at the back here, I couldn't actually find a way to take them off, so I put them fully inside with a little cap insert, so that it, after I pull the formwork off, I can dig that wood out and then unscrew the bolts again. The bolts have all been thoroughly oiled, so they should come out quite easily.
So we're pouring the main platform, and Patrick decides he's going to be the mixer man. So I got everything set up for him and told him roughly what he had to do. Well, oh my God. He started to dump the first bag in, and of course there was some cement dust blowback from the mixer. Well, you'd have thought a bomb had gone off inside there. He dropped the bag of concrete, ran into the house, and I didn't see him for about 10 minutes. When he did finally show up, he was clothed in full hazmat gear. Safety glasses, safety mask, safety hat, safety boots, double gloves, extra coat, extra pants. Dad, he said, it's all hazardous material. What would WCB say? I said, Patrick, you're not going to be able to work with all that stuff on. So sure enough, 2 minutes later, everything but a pair of light gloves was lying on the grass in a pile. Calvin and I had a good laugh over it, and I wish I had some video of Patrick first coming back out of the house all decked out. But someone had to mix the concrete. So here's the slab all finished. Turned out not too bad.
The only real issue is that on the night we poured, it started to rain about 8:30 at night. Of course, I was inside waiting for final cure, watching the news, fell asleep, and so I missed it. As a result, the surface got kind of rain pitted, and there was some powder where the top bit of aggregate, which sort of would have normally had more cement in it, has kind of worn off. But it's all going to be covered in any case, and so I think it's going to be just fine. So today I went and picked up brick, and hopefully we'll get started on the dome soon.